So, I have a couple of other things, if you don't mind, for you to sign.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I don't play the ukulele, but this was given to me. This was given to me at a gig that I did in an antique market, and I was like, what would be really easy and compact for me to bring acoustic-wise?
Yeah.
I couldn't decide which guitar to bring. But yeah, and then I have a couple other things too, and I have some questions to ask you. Oh yeah, I have a little. This is actually one of my. I'm a singer and songwriter too.
Oh, wonderful! I look forward to it.
So, yeah,
that's great. Thanks. I appreciate it.
And then let's see. Oh yeah, I printed out my email. You want to sign that?
Sure.
And then I have a couple of other things too. Yeah, I'll just give it to you. In our studio at home, I have like a bunch of CDs that are all drilled to the wall, CD cases, and so those two are two of yours that I actually had up on the wall.
Oh, good.
I love the colors of the one.
Oh,
304 one. I'm sure you probably did that on purpose for the fact that it's a very nice, colorful album. Not colorful in a bad way, but to depict that.
Totally.
But
there we go.
I'm a singer, songwriter, and musician myself, and so I have some questions pertaining to that, I guess.
Sure.
In regards to like, I'm not really necessarily looking for a record deal. Like, indie artists are really big nowadays, and I think a lot of people are probably not looking for record deals necessarily. And so I was just wondering, like, what kind of things you did back before you got signed to keep your music afloat, besides doing live shows. I know that was obviously the big part of it, but
to me it's just about trying to be good. Reading a lot and writing a lot. I was writing 5 songs a day. If you're good at what you do, people will notice it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the only way to get noticed. Unless you want to take your underpants off and go to a party and get photographed.
Right. So did you do anything as far as like, did you just kind of depend on your fans to call radio stations and request songs of yours, or how did you?
Well, if you're not looking for a record deal, you probably wouldn't want to be on the radio.
Yeah.
Because pretty much the only people that get played on the radio are people with record deals. It's very, very competitive. There's people with 6-figure salaries whose jobs it is to get artists on the radio. It's a really difficult challenge, and there's a lot of competition. I wasn't trying to get signed, and I wasn't even trying to get on radio. I grew up singing locally, and it's like a blue-collar job, but it's singing. And I was happy with that, and that's what I was hoping to accomplish. And I think it's a great living. There's lots of people that travel all across the country that make a living as a musician. They're not famous and making, huge sums of money, but they're making a great living, and they're doing something that they love. So I think that's really doable. It just takes a lot of travel and a lot of ambition. But you can also do it local. I used to sing at weddings and funerals and bank openings and, whatever else. So.
Yeah. What, did you ever get intimidated, well, not necessarily intimidated, but did you ever feel like any audience was too small? Or like, what was the average audience that you used to, before you got signed, that you used to play for?
It changed depending on what we were doing. When my parents had a show in the hotel when I was a little kid, it could be several hundred people seated down for dinner. In bars, it could be anywhere from 2 drunk people to nobody to 300 drunk people. Weddings, it just really depended on what we were doing. I think when I was a little kid, I felt intimidated. I went through all kinds of phases where I'd be really self-conscious on stage, and there was a phase where I was just too comfortable, and I'd yawn, and I just had been on stage so much of my life, I had no respect for it. It was just like nothing. It was even hard to remember people were watching me because I'd been up there so much, and I had to work at actually kind of performing and putting energy out. But I've always been a little bit aggressive. I've always had a pretty aggressive attitude toward trying to be excellent. at what I'm doing, whatever it was, which is just a little bar you set in your own head. You're the only one that knows if you're winning that race,
Yeah.
but it's a kind of private competition with myself, and I always liked the idea of trying to win audiences over, no matter what it took. It was like a Rubik's Cube. If they weren't listening, something's going to make them listen. You just got to figure out what it is, which led me to write diverse material and to do yodeling and to do whatever it took to, you know, stand on my head to make them a deal.
Yeah, well, is that partly like why, well, I know for me, whenever I write different genres of songs, that just kind of comes. It's not necessarily like, okay, well, I'm performing at this particular place, so I'm going to play this kind of, you know, write this kind of music. But, I mean, like, whenever you would go to different types of venues, you would play specifically what you thought what type of music they would enjoy, or?
It's just that every crowd's different. And some people, the attitude's different, and so you have to solve the particular thing of getting them to pay attention to you and not attention to, you know, getting laid, or paying attention to whoever they brought with them or whatever. You know, you're competing with, if there's 300 people, there are 300 different things, agendas that they have, and you're trying to make them pay attention to you and not to what they're thinking about. And the combination of things that's going to work is different for every audience. You know, sometimes it's singing really, really quiet, and all of a sudden it makes everybody feel like they have to whisper too because somebody's whispering. Other times it's doing something they've never heard before, like yodeling, or doing something that's really funny and talking and telling stories. And when people tell stories, sometimes it makes people listen, whereas they'll ignore singing. You know, and so it's just a different thing every night that you kind of just. That's why I don't do set lists, is because you know, you'd miss the mark if you had it pre-planned out.
Yeah. You do some pretty awesome things with your voice that I've heard over the years. Have you ever hurt your voice doing any of the, like, let's see, on the This Way album, there was one song that you were, like...
I go up and kind of scream.
Yeah. Does that...
There's a kind of a correct way to do that, and there's an incorrect way to do that. And the way to tell the difference is one hurts and one doesn't.
Yeah.
Luckily, you know, I didn't take voice lessons as a kid, but I listened to singers and emulated singers that were such good, correct singers that it taught me to sing correctly, naturally. So luckily I've never struggled with hoarseness, and I was able to do 5-hour sets. And even with these shows, you know, I'm doing 17 shows in like 15 days or something. I'll sing every single night and do 2-hour sets, and I do everything from screaming to opera to yodeling. And I think a lot of it's in your mental attitude. I think that singing can be psychosomatic. I've seen a lot of singers psych themselves out. They think they're going to lose their high notes, and they obsess on it, and they lose their high notes.
Yeah.
When I feel like even if I lost my high notes, I don't care because there's enough other songs I can do. So I don't have that pressure on me, kind of. I don't get real tweaky about it.
Yeah. So, is there anything that you do as far as, like, do you just drink water all the time? Or do you drink caffeinated drinks? Or, like, because I know as a vocalist, I'm like, I used to just drink water all the time, and then, like, Entertainer's Secret, I would always keep with me, and things like that. Do you have any little things that you do for your vocals that you...
I don't, and I've heard a lot of singers that do. I don't personally do warm-ups or anything. I hum all day, so that might be kind of like warming up, just because I'm humming.
Yeah.
But I don't do anything. I don't do anything particularly with eating or drinking or anything like that. I consider it my job to have complete and total mastery of my voice, and I've spent a lifetime figuring out how to try to do that and to have command of it. And that doesn't mean that my voice is in perfect shape every night, but it means that I know how to handle whatever problem I'm having. So if I have phlegm, I know how to handle that by working around it. Or if I'm hoarse and my middle range isn't very strong, I have a way of working around it. But that's just because I've become so familiar with my voice. You know, I've practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced in every situation possible, that I know myself inside and out, and I know that there's no situation I can't handle and work around.
Yeah.
We have time for one more question, sorry.
Okay. On one of the other interviews on the website, someone asked you about starting a family and everything, and I know that you guys are possibly wanting to... We just had a baby 4 weeks ago. He was 4 weeks yesterday, actually. But you mentioned that you might like to kind of drop under the radar and during that time, like, maybe produce an album or two by yourself. And my question is, like,